Fantastic. Hello and welcome to the first webinar of Hurix this year. We are super thrilled and excited to do this webinar with you all. First and foremost, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you and family are keeping safe and sound, and please go take that jab if you haven't already. That's going to keep you and the folks around you safe. All right. I see a good number of people already joining us today. All right, and the session has already been recorded, so let's kind of get started with the webinar in a minute. And before we start, here are some ground rules. This webinar is going to cover, various topics in detail. And so if you have any specific questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A section that you see in the bottom. All right, and if you have anything to say in specific or leave a comment, you can always use the chat section, and we can actually take up those chat as a comment and proceed on with that. And this is a 1 hour webinar, and in the last 15 minutes, and we're going to be allocating it for the Q&A. So all your questions will be answered. All right. So I just want to kind of quickly check if my audio is good. And if my audio is good, just give me a OK in the chat so that we all are in the same page. All right. I get a lot of OK. Okay. Very good. So the audio is fantastic. There's a lot of people here. That is good. Thank you very much for the confirmation. Very good. Okay, so now that we have the base rules set and more number of people already joined in, so just sit back and relax. Let us begin. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone who's attending this webinar across the globe. We thank you once again for taking the time and jumping in this webinar. Today's topic is accessibility in the digital world. Now, you see, people living in the mobility, people living with mobility issues or visual impairments, hearing impairments, and learning disorders like dyslexia can face challenges when navigating the web, right? It's the same way like how a brick and mortar business might remove a physical barrier to ease the way for folks with mobility constraints. Companies must also ensure that they have eliminated the obstacles to accessing the digital content too, right? Essentially, content accessibility boils down to user experience, creating a hierarchical, easy to navigate website with content that's easy to see, easy to read, mobile responsive, and also kind of consumed by a variety of ways. And still there are many more to this, of course. To talk about and discuss much in depth about this particular topic, we have an expert with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Arun Vijay Kumar, Associate Quality Manager at Hurix. He comes with 13 years of experience in the field of accessibility. He is CPAC and ISTQB certified professional. All the projects that comes to Hurix in regards to accessibility queries are looked by Arun himself. Arun, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Bala. Thanks for the introduction there.
Fantastic. Very good. So, I think we can change this. We can go to the next slide from here. The entire platform is yours, Arun. I'll give it to you and you can actually take it up. But I'm really curious about one thing over here. I did say in the introduction about the CPAC and the ISTQB certified professional, which you are. For our audiences here, can you just elaborate what it is so that people literally know what is those certified professionals are?
Yeah, it's a certified accessibility professional in core competency. So that is CPA. Then ISTQB is International Software Testing Board Association. So that's a foundation level course I'm certified in.
Very good. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Arun. The stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bala. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this webinar on digital accessibility. I hope you're all healthy and safe. Agenda for today would be to understand what is digital accessibility, why do we need accessible content, reasons to make digital accessibility a priority in your organization. We'll also touch base on WCAG and POUR, POUR principles, the various assets that Hurix can audit, the process, the competencies, the tools that we use in accessibility audit, and about Hurix. Yeah. What is digital accessibility? Let's start with a quote from Tim Berners-Lee, W3C director and inventor of World Wide Web. The power of web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. Digital accessibility refers to technology being designed in such a way that it can be accessed by all users, regardless of their physical and intellectual capabilities. This includes electronic documents, websites, softwares, hardwares, video, audio, or any other digital asset. It is a diverse group that access technology, and therefore it is very important that technology be made available for everyone, including those with visual, hearing, neurological, motor, physical, and intellectual disabilities. The impact of disability is radically changed on the web because web removes barriers to communication and interactions that many people face in the physical world. However, when websites, applications, technology, or tools are badly designed, they can create barriers that exclude people from using the web. So in this regard, digital accessibility is essential for quality assurance, developers and organizations that want to create high quality websites and web tools and not to exclude people from using their products and services. Whenever I talk about accessibility, I do get a question how it is different from usability. Usability is concerned with whether the product are effective, efficient, and satisfying to use. Usability tends not to specifically focus on the user experience of the people with disabilities. Accessibility, on the other hand, is concerned with whether all users are able to access and get same user level experience as and when they use a product or services. Unlike usability, accessibility focuses on all people. Why do we need it? The latest statistics are presented to you and the references from where it is picked up. Other stats are like, globally at least 2.2 billion people have a near or distant vision impairment. According to World Health Organization, an estimated 466 million people, or 6.1% of the world's population, are deaf or hard of hearing. There's another stat. According to the World Federation of Deaf Blind, between 0.2% and 2% of the world's population is deaf blind. It is estimated that 1 to 3% of the global population, or about 200 million people, have intellectual disabilities. About 2% of adults have seizure at some point in their life. What are these statistics mean? People with disability will experience the web in variety of different ways. Organizations are to ensure that their content is accessible to people with disabilities. People with disability want to experience the content as you intend to create. The goal is to ensure that regardless how a person with disability accesses the content, the same digital experience is achieved. With internet now part of everyday lives, it is important that no one is put to a disadvantage because they can't navigate the online world as easily as others. Let's take banking, entertainment, shopping, communication, any sector. Almost everything we do is via the internet. So ensuring that disabled people can access everything is an integral part of society. So we cannot exclude them. If we don't work diligently to make the web accessible, we risk bearing in some capacity a quarter of adult population from participating in the online world. That means people with disabilities won't be able to do things like take online classes, easily keep up with friends who have moved far away, or access important information about their own healthcare. Simply put, web accessibility is important because so many people rely on web to do day-to-day critical activities. Not to mention, creating an accessible web is the moral and just thing to do. Let's look at reasons to make digital accessibility a priority. Universally accessible for everyone. The beauty and the power of internet lie in the fact that it is apparently for everyone. You, me, everyone. Every user should be able to have access to websites and web application. We have to understand that web and web applications are for everyone, and then design, develop our digital experience with these ways on top of our mind. only then we can make sure that we really include all the users so that we don't exclude any of them. Working from home, and it's not new to anybody. As the pandemic hit us in 2020, there is an increase in remote access to opportunities and necessities. More citizens in coming years will come to rely on web being accessible by them from home. And this increases the need of websites being accessible by everyone. Reputation, improve brand image of your company. So that's one of the very big, important reason also. The primary interface of your organization or any organization is through their website. And if you want your application or your apps to stand out from the competition, then it has to be accessible by everyone. The more the user interacts with your application, your websites, the more attached he or she will become to it. Just when you go into a website, you feel the ease of it. You get attracted to the website and you want to spend more time in the website. This will increase coverage of your application, which will in turn increase your brand image. Now, bad accessibility practices damage your reputation. Good ones can actually aid it. If you make an effort to go above and beyond and truly serve all your customers and users, it will make your brand stand out, not just in the eyes of the users, but that directly benefit from the accessibility, but that also most value social impact. User experience, we already spoke in our first slide. Ultimately, accessibility is about user experience, where UX is only focused on user for whom it is assumed not to have a disability. Accessibility does not make any such assumptions. Accessibility treats all users equally and understands that features which are intended for users with disabilities actually improve the overall user experience. And it is not only that the best user experience is accessible, accessibility is in fact a prerequisite for calling something a user experience. By not making sites and application accessible, you automatically exclude a large portion of your users by preventing them from having a comparable experience to users without any disabilities. Search engine optimization, which is it's a set of practice designed to improve the appearance and positioning of web pages in organic search results based on the user experience of your website. And the search engine will rank it accordingly. The more number of users use your website, the best ranking that you get. So accessibility, if you make the website more accessible, it will make more customers, more users come to your website, and in turn boost your ranking in the search engine optimization. Legal, one of the very important reasons that we need accessible content. There is also a financial aspect to digital accessibility. This is reference from Seyfarth Shaw. The total website accessibility lawsuits in federal courts in 2020 show a significant increase from 2019. The total number of lawsuits filed in federal courts alleging that plaintiffs with a disability could not use websites because they could not, they were not coded to work with assertive technologies like screen readers or otherwise accessible to them. There is a 177% increase in these suits from 2017 to 2018. It is a meaningful increase over the relative level 2018 to 2019 filing codes. There are many aspects in which prioritizing accessibility benefits business, ranging from legal obligation to basic compassion for other human beings. Providing accessibility for all is simply the right thing to do. And in fact, providing digital accessibility is benefit for everybody, not just those with impairments. So what is WCAG? The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, are part of series of web accessibility guidelines published by Web Accessibility Initiative, WAI, for the World Web Consortium, W3C. The main international standard organization for internet. They are a set of recommendations for making web content more accessible, primarily for people with disabilities, but for all user agents, including highly limited devices such as mobile phones. The WCAG 1.0 were published and became W3C recommendation on 5th May 1999. They have since been suspended by a newer version, that is WCAG 2.0. WCAG 1.0 consists of 14 guidelines, each of which describes general principles of accessible design. Each guideline covers a basic theme of web accessibility, and it is associated with one or more checkpoints that describes how to apply these guidelines to particular web feature. WCAG 2.0, released in 2008, defines 12 guidelines. Each guideline is broken down into specific requirements, which are then divided into 3 conformance levels, that are A, AA, and AAA. Together, these levels define 61 success criteria. Technology has moved on considerably since WCAG 2.1 when it was first introduced. WCAG 2.1 is simply an upgraded or updated version that introduces an additional 17 criteria to account to these changes, defining 13 guidelines and 78 success criteria in total. Released in 2018, it includes the needs of people with cognitive and learning disabilities, people with reduced vision, and people with disabilities using mobile devices. The 2 set of guidelines are backward compatible. For example, if you aim to meet WCAG 2.1, you will meet WCAG 2.0 by default. So version 2.1 does not replace, but builds on top of the previous version. There is also 2.2, which is scheduled to be published in 2022, which is set of probably another, it's in draft stage, it is set of another 9 guidelines. But we'll talk about this in our next webinar. Next slide. Yeah. So WCAG is based on 4 principles. We'll not go into detail on each guidelines and success criterion, but at a high level, we'll discuss about what is this 4 principles about. So these criteria have been organized under 4 different principles. They are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust, otherwise known as the 4 principles. So perceivable. For content to be perceivable, it must be possible to perceive it through multiple senses. In most cases, the key to perceivability is converting non-text content into text, which can then be processed by assistive technology by the user's choice. Not only will this assist people with disabilities, it's also beneficial for your website in terms of search engine optimization, which we spoke about in the previous slides, and the user engagement. Operable. Web designers must be aware of different devices that users can manage to use the website. So they must take the user interface components and navigation elements in a way that everyone can operate it. For example, don't limit user input to only mouse or pointers. Make it available to many devices as possible, like keyboard, voice recognition, software along with switches. Understandable. If a user does not understand what are you trying to talk about, or we make him or her lost in your site, then the user will leave the site. He's not interested in the site, he'll just leave. Understanding relates to consistency and the ease of use of navigation elements on the site. Reducing the number of navigation elements and presenting these elements consistently throughout a website. Now, this can improve usability for many users, including those who are blind, those with cognitive or learning disabilities, and older users. So the information should be understandable and easy to comprehend as possible. Robust. Here you want to make sure that the content is robust enough that it can be interpreted in a reliable manner by a wide variety of user agents, including assistive technologies. So this means that users should be able to access the content as technology evolves and advances. Any advancement in technology, you want to make sure that web application or website will be able to support and be robust as possible and be able to interact with the new technology. Next one. So let's look at the high level. No, I said no, as the time is limited. Let's look at the high level on what are these principles and guidelines, and how by following them we can make our product more accessible. We'll not distinguish between A, AA, and AAA standards, but we'll look at them briefly as to what are the success criteria are. Okay. Principle one, perceivable. You see a beautiful cat there. Providing text alternative for non-text content. So all images that convey meaningful content should be given suitable alternative text. Complex images or charts should have an accessible alternative provided, either on the same page or via a link. Multimedia content, that is audio or video, should at least have a descriptive identification available, such as caption or a similar kind of a thing. UI controls such as forms, elements, and buttons should have text label that describe their purpose. Guideline 1.2, again, this comes under perceivable only, time-based media, providing text alternative for time-based media. A transcript should be provided for pre-recorded audio-only media, and a transcript audio or audio description should be provided for pre-recorded video-only media, that is silent video. You should provide captions for video presented on web, example, HTML video. This is for the benefit of people who cannot hear the audio part of the video. You should also provide transcripts or audio descriptions for video presented on the web. Guideline 1.3, adaptable. One of the biggest accessible aids a screen reader user can have is an excellent content structure with headings, paragraphs, lists, etc. A sensible, logical reading order should be easy to determine for any content. The order should be made obvious by the use of correct schematic, example, headings, paragraph, bullets, all those things. Instructions for operating control should be clearly labeled. Now, content do not restrict its view and operations to a single display orientation, such as portrait or landscape, unless a specific display orient is essential. Yeah, next slide. Guideline 1.4, distinguishable. Make it easier for the user to see and hear content, including separating foreground from background. Now, the color contrast between background and foreground content should be at a minimum level to ensure legibility. The page should be readable and usable when the text size is doubled. Now, this means that design should be responsive. Now, it should not be vague when the user increases the screen size. Image should not be used to present content where text would do the job. Pre-recorded audio recordings that primarily feature speech should have minimal background noise. Let's come to the next principle, which is operable. Guideline 2.1, keyboard accessibility. Keyboard accessible. Make all functionalities available from a keyboard. All functionality should be accessible using keyboard controls. Unless it cannot be done using a keyboard, example, freehand drawing. When entering a section of functionality using keyboard, you should be able to get out of the section again using only the keyboard. For example, you press enter, return. No, you press enter or return on a focused button to open a options window. You should be able to close the window again and return to the main content using the keyboard. And this is very important so the keyboard user do not get trapped on a specific section of your app. Guideline 2.2, enough time. Now, for functionality with time limits, example, completing a hotel or a flight booking often has a time limit. The user should be given controls to allow them to adjust, extend, or turn off the time limit. Any interruptions such as alerts or adverts should have functionality available to suppress or postpone them, unless it is an emergency alert. If an authentication session expires during usage of a web app, the user can re-authenticate and continue their users without losing any data. 2.3, seizures and physical reactions. Do not design content in a way that is known to cause seizure or physical reactions. Allow a user to disable animations from interactions unless the animation is essential. 2.4, navigable. Provide ways to help users navigate. They should be easy to find content and determine where they are. The tabbing order of the focusable page feature, example, links, buttons, forms, inputs, make logical sense, meaning that the page is still usable by non-sighted keyboard users. The purpose, the destination of a link can be determined from the link text or from its surroundings. You should provide at least two general navigation mechanisms to find pages on your web. For example, navigation menu, breadcrumb trails, site searches, site maps, list related links, etc. Input modalities, guideline 2.5. Make it user for user to operate functionality through various input beyond keyboard. All functionality that can be operated with a pointer can also operated with a single point action. Make sure people can use the switch between different modules of inputs while interacting with digital content, including touchscreen, keyboard, mouse, voice commands, or alternative input devices. Principle 3, understandable. Guideline 3.1, readable. Make text content readable and understandable. The default human language for each web page should be detectable via the code. This is essential for the purpose like making sure that the reader has arrived at the page written suitable for them. Now, the simplest way to achieve this is set the language attribute on the page HTML element, giving it a value to the language code that best represents the language the page is written in. Where abbreviations are used, you should provide an expansion for them or a definition as required. If a text is provided that requires a higher reading level than a lower secondary education level, typically children around 11 to 14 years old, provide supplementary explainer material to help people who cannot read. Or provide an alternative version that it is written at a lower secondary level. 3.2, predictable. When a control or other page feature receives focus, it should not change the context in the way it will confuse the user or disorient the user. When data is inputted into a control or a setting is changed, context should not be changed unexpectedly. Now, navigation menu, control style, and positioning should be consistent between different page or views of a web page. And the existing items should appear in the same order, even if, for example, new items are added. Guideline 3.3, input assistant. When a user is filling out a form or choosing between options, an error is detected. Should be clearly reported to the user, along with the form controls that error relates to. Clear instructions should be provided when the data is required. Okay. When an error is detected and suggestions for corrections are known, provide this to the user. Provide instructions and other appropriate clues in context to aid from completion and submission. Principle 4, Principle 4, robust. Now, there's a single guideline here. It should be compatible. Now, ensure that the code does not break or otherwise impede assistive technology. Expose information in a standard way so that assistive technology can recognize and interact with the content. Asset classes for accessibility, conformance. Information can be presented and transferred in various asset classes based on your target audience. So they can be a student, a teacher, a colleague in your organization, a person who's trying to purchase your product, your company website, developer, or general public. It will be helpful for all if the information in the assets are accessible. So how this will help? Data can be easily copy pasted if they're accessible. Documents with accessibility and universal design in mind tend to be more flexible and easily adaptable for a longer shelf life. These documents can be used by everyone, typically supports in different devices to view them. To enhance the usability and accessibility of your website and mobile application, we at Hurix use a combination of software tools, manual analysis to test web accessibility. Our consultants are highly committed, IAAP certified professionals with a deep understanding of WCAG standards. We are well versed with global accessibility requirement and follow 2.0, 2.1 standards to ensure that websites, e-learning courses, or digital content tools meet Section 508 or ADA accessibility requirements. Our experts can assess your website, and this audit will help us in assess the current accessibility position level of your site or application. Our accessibility experts said to be proven methodology-based assessment processes. We are focused on meeting compliance goals, providing consistent reporting, and ensuring that our team is geared up for success. We provide WCAG audit reports for your products, supporting your marketing and sales efforts. VPAT reports can also be provided based on request. We create appropriate equivalent alternative text, both long and short description for images, media, or any other non-text web content for web accessibility. For any asset format, quality assurance, for any asset format that we have, our audit processes are set in place, which has worked very efficiently for us and the customer. We do a due diligence on the asset, prepare test cases, a checklist, identify in which environments the product has to be audited. The right side, we have the environment list where we audit the product of accessibility compliance. We make all legacy contents such as videos, HTML5 interactivities, PDFs, e-learning courses, etc., accessible with our fast and reliable services. We provide subtitling, closed caption service that include video transcriptions, creating STR files for English and other localized languages. We enable web accessibility implementation using assistive technologies like JAWS screen reader, NVDA screen reader, Zoom text magnifier, Dragon naturally speaking, color contrast analyzer, alternative keyboard devices, etc. A team of experts identify and implement special mobile WCAG accessible requirements while testing mobile web and hybrid apps. We also offer PDF document accessibility evaluation and remediation using Adobe Read for all non-textual, Adobe Read Aloud and Adobe Acrobat full accessibility tools. With assertive technologies, we check logical reading order check, alternative text validation for all the non-textual content. With keyboard navigation, tab sequence is validated, focus visible, and focus order on interactive elements of the page is checked. Color contrast validations are carried out with our color contrast tools. Tools generated report from Axe or Wave or any other are provided in a sequential order in a spreadsheet so that developers can identify the issues and their fixes effortlessly. Once we identify accessibility issues, we segregate them as content and platform issues. Then we apply WCAG guidelines and suggestions for remediations to solve the issues identified. So that's it from me, folks. Back to you, Bala.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. That was a brilliant one. Right. You covered a lot of stuff today, like from what is digital accessibility to why we need to keep them on priority to what is WCAG and then all the principles of it, till how we kind of do the quality assurance has been taken care. Brilliant. I'm sure it must have been a treat for all who wants to know more about this. If you've really learned something today, all right, to all the folks, can I have a thumbs up or a yes in the chat? And can you assure us that, you have learned something today absolutely new? Can we just go ahead and put on a yes or a thumbs up in the chat so that we all know that you have learned something new today? Right, there's a lot of yes coming in. Fantastic, very good, very good. Yes, lovely, lovely.
Nice.
Very good. So with that, we just want to kind of quickly wrap it, and now we'll kind of get into the Q&A side of it. If you have any questions, it's time right now, to put on your questions. We already have some questions from some of our people who have already registered for this webinar. We'll be kind of taking them up. But in the meantime, I'll kind of quickly take you through what Hurix is. All right. At Hurix, we help organizations from across industries to achieve their business goals with their future-ready learning content solutions, cloud platforms, content transformation, and technology services. And of course, on the accessibility side, you already heard from the man himself. We use a combination of software tools and human manual analysis to test web accessibility. And of course, all our consultants are highly committed IAAP certified professional with deep understanding of WCAG standards. Right now, along with that, at Hurix, we also kind of focus upon learning technology services, where we kind of include, where we kind of work upon content development, delivery of third-party programs, delivery of proprietary training programs, and management of learning technology too. And apart from it, we also have a cloud platform called kitabu.com, right? And where we kind of license the cloud platform to more than 15 million students across 20 plus countries, where they kind of consume the content that we have created, or the publishers have been using the platform to kind of consume that, right? And here, of course, we develop the content for K-12 folks, higher education, and enterprise. We also work upon content transformation services, where we kind of transform content from the legacy formats to new emerging formats. And of course, all those things kind of comes along with the quality assurance, where we do provide content digitalization QA with the test automation framework built in-house itself. All right, so that's about Hurix, and it would be the time where we kind of take some of the questions. All right, we have questions coming in already. Okay, yeah, this slide, I missed this particular thing. These are some of the clients who we are already associated with. You can see from the enterprise side, some of the major names, and also from the education higher ed publisher side of it, you have some of the names like McGraw, Pearson's of the world. All have been working with us for quite long and quite some time with us as this has been going. Did I miss to say that we are into business for about 20 plus years? So yes, most of the publishers, or there isn't any publisher whom we haven't spoken to or haven't been worked with, right? Of course, in all this industry segments, so we've been working. With that, let's get on the Q&A. And for the Q&A, we already have some of the panelists with us. Of course, we have Arun with us, who could be taking some of the questions. And along with us, we also have Raj and Gokul. Along with, we also have Maitli with us, who would be kind of taking some of the expert questions that has been kind of coming in. All right, so let's kind of take one by one. We have the first question here, and I'll leave it to the panel who wants to kind of take this particular question. Question is, does your organization create VPAT reports?
Yes. We create VPAT document for few clients, and we have also have CPAC certified professionals in our team who are involved in audit and VPAT creation.
All right, I hope that answered the question for the user who asked it. The next question is, what type of device coverages are you providing for accessibility testing?
We use various screen readers like JAWS, NVDA, VoiceOver with a different combination of OS and browsers, covering all these latest devices and desktops. Okay,
got it. All right. Here's another person. They are talking about, one person is like they're particularly interested in information about alt text creation. I think we did cover a little bit, but can somebody take up that question?
Sure, but I will take this up. Yes, alt text is an important part in accessibility because for all those images which is not conveying enough information to all people. So alt text creation is absolutely necessary. And here at Hurix, we have a team of content writers. Not just offshore, we also have a native speakers in our team who will be able to create alt text based on the curriculum. So if you are looking for our curriculum, we'll be using our team. And if you have US-based curriculum, we'll be using native speakers if required, and they will be able to write all the contents. And this way, we will be creating and implementing in any of the websites or any of the contents, any of the remediation websites, whatever we are using, we will be implementing those.
Brilliant. Perfect. I suppose that answered the question for the user who asked that question. Another one here is a very interesting one. Would also love any information you might have from your professional relationships about how other publishers and the accessibility community as a whole are responding to 2025 EU deadline for full accessible ebooks.
Yes, absolutely yes. So most of the clients, I will say not even most, all of the clients, all of the publishers who are approaching us definitely want to make everything, every of their websites or every of their content accessible, because as you said, there is a deadline in Europe Union and we need to adhere to as early as possible. It's not just that, as I already told you, it's not just that the new content, even which were developed years before. Maybe we didn't have enough knowledge on what are all the things we can do to make accessible. Those clients are also coming up. Those publishers are also coming to us to make it accessible. So all the remediation, when you talk about PDF, when you talk about the PowerPoint, when you talk about the InDesign file, so all these publishers are coming to us to make it happen. And moreover to it, for the new content creation, we also have our platform, a Kitabu platform, where you have various options to add all the accessible requirements. So yeah, read out functionality, a highlight functionality, an annotation, adding an annotation, indexing. So this platform, using this platform with a minimum effort, you will be able to create a ebook accessible. You will get a great content out of it. That's easy to implement too. So you can visit kitabu.com. It would have give you more details on this area.
Perfect. I hope that answered. I presume Elizabeth was one of the person in the list who kind of asked this question specifically before the webinar. I hope that has been answered there. All right, we have one more here. In fact, we have many more. It's good that a lot of questions kind of coming in. We are particularly interested in information about alt text. That is, I think, we have taken that. All right. Hi, this is Isda. Have you or using any idea automated A11 Ali? I presume that is.
That's accessibility.
Right.
Short form
okay.
Of accessibility.
Okay. So, do you have any tool using it, and the challenge when the user interactive on VO? Can someone take that?
Yeah, Bala. So we use our internal tools. Might be some of the tools have been developed using Selenium, and we also have RPA experts in our team. So using which we develop our internal tools to do the automation.
All right.
So not completely the accessibility will be automated. To certain limit, this automation is possible on the voiceover.
All right. Okay. Good. Okay. Now another question: does your organization have disabled people for testing accessibility? Very interesting question. Yeah.
It's a good question. Yes, we do have physically challenged people in our team. Yes, we do have, and they're part of our team. They also carry out accessibility audit for us. Yes.
Perfect. Very good. All right. And can the presentation be shared with us? Yes, the presentation can be shared with you. You'll also have the recording of this particular webinar coming to you in 24 hours, or this is a Thursday, so you should be having it, give or take, in the 24 hours. You should have complete information of this webinar. All right. And are you doing PDF and Word accessibility too?
Yes, Bala. So already in our discussion, we talked about that. When we talk about the various type of accessible contents, yes, PDF, Word, PPT, InDesign, any form of content, so that will make it accessible.
Perfect.
The asset classes, which I was going through the slide, so which covers all those asset classes there. Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, and here we have a couple more, I think. Okay, what level of WCAG compliance does your company provide?
I'll answer this.
Okay.
We provide actually WCAG compliance on 2 levels, level A and level AA. We also provide suggestions and remediations based on the client requirements.
Okay. All right. Here we have one last question here. How should I approach accessibility testing?
I would say, please write to us about your product, and we're happy to help you in any way possible.
All right, good. And I think that's a good number of questions we kind of got today. All right, we wait for another couple of minutes to kind of see any more questions. Yeah, there's one more question from Isdas again. Any particular reason AAA is happening?
Yeah, AAA. So AAA is more of the gestures. Okay, so currently with the limitations which we have on the web and things, we are currently working on the AA. So the gesture control, everything is being applicable on the AAA. So currently there is no specific legal or anything being applicable on the AAA. So that is the reason we're not focusing on the AAA.
Got it. Okay. Hope that got answered for you, Istas. All right. I guess a good number of questions. And thank you very much, panel, behind the scenes right now. I know you guys can't see them. We have Raja, we have Gokul, we also have Maitley, who've been talking to you folks from the back of the stage to kind of answer some of the important questions that you guys have. Thank you very much, and really, really appreciate it. Yes, and to all the people again, on all the good ones who've been with us till the end of the webinar, till here, to kind of take all the information that we have provided. Really, really appreciate it. With that, I guess let's kind of close over here, I guess. Arun, unless you have anything else to kind of cover today.
Sure, Bob. No, all is well. I hope everybody stays healthy and safe. And have a great evening.
Fantastic. Thank you very much once again, Arun, and thank you everybody who have attended today. And we really appreciate it. Expect this webinar to kind of come back to you in 24 hours. And if you have any other questions, you can always visit hurix.com or reach one of the person whom you kind of see it in front of the screen here, and we'll be happy to answer. Thank you, and you have a great day further.